All right, it is now 6:59. By the time I get this thing going, it'll be ready to go. So I want to go ahead and kick it off and introduce you. All right.
And there we go. Okay. Do we need to push anything here? Oh,
You're all
go.
good.
Okay.
You're doing good. Well,
Yeah,
hello
okay.
everybody. It's I'm excited tonight. We have someone that can fill us in on some information here that you may not know about. You know, it's we have Lieutenant Colonel Terrence McCarthy, retired, and he was Army intelligence, and he was let's see what it says here. McCarthy was in the U.S. Army, and while serving in Vietnam, was assigned to develop intelligence about the Vietnamese communist movements in Cambodia, which officially had declared itself neutral, which we may find out may not have been quite the same thing. But I just want to introduce Terry. I'm very excited. He wrote a book. I want to show you a picture of it here. But he wrote a book called The Real Story, Cambodia and South Vietnam, 1953 to 1970, by Terrence McCarthy. And where can they get this book? Is it on Amazon or Terry? Are you there?
Okay, I've got you.
Okay, where would they get the book? Is it on Amazon or?
It's on Amazon.
Okay, very good. Well, Terry, tell us about yourself. Tell us about, who you are.
Over the years, let me just give you a little introduction to the book here. Over the years, the media has portrayed very inaccurately the major role Cambodia played in the Vietnam War. And what is still very distressing is the real story, which is the name of my book. Where we see that I've never been told of the failure of the United States to properly act on the story of the actual use of Cambodia, which I was personally responsible for achieving in an intelligence breakthrough in the fall of 1968 in Saigon. Had the United States reacted in a responsible manner on this intelligence, I believe that many American servicemen would not have been killed, and many more would not have experienced serious wounds that they received from the Vietnamese communists, who were using Cambodia base areas to launch offensive operations. After initiating assaults in South Vietnam, many communist units retreated to safe havens in Cambodia. Our policy was that we could only engage them if, that's a big if, we were in pursuit of them as they crossed the border. For the most part, the communists who knew what the policy was made significant efforts to ensure that pursuit was not happening when they crossed the Cambodian South Vietnam border. The most glaring inaccuracy in media reporting of the Vietnam War deals with the flow of logistics and ammunition to the Vietnamese communists in southern South Vietnam. In the fall of '68, through the compilation of intelligence from all sources and the piecing together a comprehensive estimate of the operations in the Cambodian South Vietnam region, I was able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that no significant flow of ordnance ammunition was reaching Vietnamese communist forces in southern Vietnam by sea or over by the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Instead, I conclusively demonstrated that ordnance ammunition shipments were delivered to the port of Sihanoukville, which is in the western perimeter of Cambodia, and that they moved to a transshipment depot southwest of Phnom Penh and was further transported to Vietnamese communist units in the Cambodia base areas along the South Vietnam border. I briefed the findings to General Creighton Abrams, the U.S. Vietnam commander, in October '68, and he had me write back channels containing these findings to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Pentagon on several occasions. General Abrams was hoping that the Vietnamese communist use of the Cambodian sanctuaries could be eliminated, saving many American lives, and that some punitive action could be taken to prevent the flow of ordnance into and from Sihanoukville. No action from Washington was forthcoming, except to send a high-level intelligence team out to Saigon in December of 1968 to put an end to my estimates and findings. They were completely unsuccessful in this effort. General Abrams was very upset with all of this foot dragging. Over Christmas in 1968, Billy Graham visited the troops and stopped by Saigon. And in an effort to get this critical estimate on Cambodia to President Nixon, General Abrams invited me to his quarters and had me give Mr. Graham a complete briefing on the Cambodian situation. Over the ensuing months of 1969, our case in Cambodia became even stronger. In July of '69, General Abrams had me pack up my briefing and sent me to Washington to brief the entire community, which I did. After my tour in Saigon was over, I was assigned to the Pentagon and became General Westmoreland's chief go-to guy on Cambodia and Vietnam. Very briefly, I put together a study on Cambodia, which I briefed to the President's Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board. They brought the matter to the attention of the President, who censured the Director of Central Intelligence for failing to convey the Vietnam commander's estimates to his office. A couple of years ago, through the Freedom of Information Act, I was able to get the Pentagon study declassified and released. So as a member of the U.S. Army, I was stationed in South Vietnam in '68 and '69. Many of my friends were killed or seriously wounded in that conflict. My reception when I returned home to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in 1969 was far from friendly. Over the years, I had suppressed my hurts and my frustrations generated by the Vietnam experience. So it was with great surprise and relief that my initial visit to the Vietnamese memorial in Washington, D.C. resulted in a torrent of tears and an eruption of emotional revulsion. The catharsis that the Vietnam Memorial provided was ironically refreshing. This healing response continues to be even more strongly felt each time I return to this silent yet awesome tribute to those who gave so much for such in their losing cause. So in order to provide you, Jim, a little more definitive information, once I arrived in Saigon in August of '68, I spent about approximately 40 days of getting all of the facts and details together about what the Cambodian situation was. So in my first 40 days analyzing I was the chief of the out country section. I put special emphasis on Cambodia, and I established the following contacts. Number one, American Embassy. I visited twice weekly. I drove my own Jeep from Tan Son Nhut Airport and visited the following: the U.S. Embassy, the CIA Station Chief, and the U.S. Naval Forces Vietnam, NAV-4V, once weekly. 5th Special Forces, twice weekly. U.S. Army MACV SCIF daily to include NSA analysts and nationwide communist activities. And finally, monthly phone conversations with the Australian attaches of the Phnom Penh Australian Embassy. They were very helpful in providing current data on Prince Sihanouk. So after 40 days, I had assembled an estimate which included the following. Number one, Cambodian meeting Chi-Com cargo ships, which were delivering arms and ammunition destined for Cambodian sanctuaries and Vietnamese troops. And these were the ships that dropped all of the arms and ammunition off in the port of Sihanoukville. The Cambodian army moving the armament supplies to a depot south of Phnom Penh and onward to communist forces. Then there was redefining sanctuaries located along the Cambodian South Vietnam border. The other one of the other things I was involved in was the U.S. Army 5th Special Forces established several base camps located near eastern Cambodia's Mondulkiri and Ratanakiri provinces. The base camps included several Montagnard units, which served to surveil the trails used by the NVA to move personnel packets to southern South Vietnam. No movement of arms and ammunition were detected. The trail was only used by foot traffic since no roadways existed in the eastern provinces of Cambodia. This constant surveillance proved that the Ho Chi Minh Trail did not extend south of the tri-border area. And then the other service that was extraordinarily well represented was the United States Forces, United States Naval Forces Vietnam. I contacted them once a week, and it ran the market time coastal operations, which completely denied the NVA the delivery of supplies to the total seacoast of the Republic of Vietnam after mid-1965. The NSA element at the MACV SCIF provided complete coverage of communications of VC-NVA units throughout the South Vietnam theater. They were contacted several times every week to identify VC and NVA movements in Cambodia and southern South Vietnam. And basically, Jim, that gives you a pretty good overview of all of the things that were happening. And
so why do you think that they were so reluctant to listen to the data you were finding?
Well, the way it worked is this: when I send the intelligence reports on the intelligence breakthroughs back to Washington, to the Pentagon, and they had, for some reason or other, put blinders on and decided that the estimates were not credible and should not be believed. So that was a real toughie but then of course after leaving Saigon, I went to the Pentagon, and General William Westmoreland, as I mentioned, was a real one of my real fans in getting all of the breakthrough information through and had me he had me do a study, and what happened was I submitted all of this, and the so that we had the the, the people in the White House basically they basically were the ones that turned their eyes away from the
From your information.
yeah, it just wasn't something that we could uh, we could do anything, especially from Saigon.
Yeah, I read a book. Now I've drawn a blank on the admiral's name, but he was the head of the intelligence gathering code breaking division, and he's the one that was able to identify for the Midway battle and all that kind of stuff. And he was so frustrated because he was also involved with Pearl Harbor, and he was, talking about the data that was showing that they were in danger, but he said there was so much political one-upmanship, and this department didn't want to play with that department, that he couldn't get anybody to listen to him. Now by Midway it worked because they had the disaster at Pearl Harbor, but it sounds similar when I'm reading your story about the politics inside the army or
Yes.
inside, yeah. So that's kind of what it made me think of when I was reading your book.
Well, the other feature, the other part that I've got in the book is I pretty much was constantly in touch with Norodom Sihanouk, the president of Cambodia, and he he was a guy that you couldn't trust him to walk down the street and flip a dime in the air because he just he had no good moral characters to bring to the scene. So
Well, reading your book, it sounded like he was playing both sides against the other, and then
yes,
another side for himself, and it was kind of an interesting dichotomy.
and I in my book I do basically spend a certain portion here on Sihanouk because he was. But during 1965, he turned abruptly from the United States, and on 3rd of May, he announced that he was severing diplomatic relations with the U.S. And this, he was just, and then in '69, he left them, and because he was very much tied to Red China, and as a result, the best way to safeguard Cambodia's sovereignty and territorial integrity with himself in power, he remained very reclusive, and then he finally in '69 he went to Peking and got a got a he got in the Red China embassy there. That's where he held forth for several years.
Then we've heard through history that all the transport of troops and and supplies went down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. I mean, that becomes, that's like in every movie and every, whatever, but, so you were saying that most of it was coming through Cambodia, where they were bringing it up, uh, from ports through Cambodia, using the Cambodian military to get it over there.
Yeah, that was, what it did was they basically used FARC, the Cambodian army, to pick up the arms and ammunition at Sihanoukville, and that was Chinese communist freighters. And they they pretty much ran the show of all of the arms and ammunition that were coming into Cambodia, and uh, that pretty much took the Ho Chi Minh Trail out completely, was out of the game, and it's
Well, you had, in your book also, you were talking about, they had training camps there for North Vietnamese soldiers in Cambodia. They had
oh yeah,
hospitals there.
yeah, they had hospitals. Uh, they really pretty much ran the roost in Cambodia, uh, and with the Vietnamese communists pretty much running the show there.
Well, it sounds like we had our hands tied because they're doing their training, they're doing their hospitals, they're doing their reserves, they've got their military, all their equipment and their supplies across the line that we're not allowed to cross.
Right, right.
So that makes it a little hard to play. So,
Well, it does. And the other thing that uh, was where I had my return at bat was uh, the in December 14th of 1970, the White House finally woke up and sent a memo to the president, and there was a considerable amount of urgency in rendering this report, which involved the activities of both the Washington intelligence community and intelligence operations conducted by U.S. field commanders. And so they gave me a lot of kudos and big operations for the reports that I was sending over to the president and they were very nice. They said they would like to express on behalf of the board, the president's Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board. They wanted to spend many thanks to him for making available the services of of this fine officer. They're talking about me.
yeah.
And they say, well, he is, um, Colonel McCarthy is a major credit, not only to the Army, but to the intelligence community generally, and that they're sure that an officer of this outstanding qualifications will progress rapidly in the Army's intelligence system. So that was signed by the executive secretary for the president's Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board. So that was very, very nice to have that sort of thing.
Right. So how long did you stay in that particular part of the service?
Well, I stayed in the military intelligence services for another 14 years.
Okay.
And I retired from active duty in 1979.
So,
And
so
I had assignments in Germany, and which was a wonderful experience for me. I commanded a small intelligence unit in Frankfurt, Germany, and while I was doing my job there, I had a chance to spend some time with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who is the fellow that provided the meditation sort of thing. I wrote a book on meditation, and that pretty much wraps everything up, Jim.
well, I appreciate this tonight. And first of all, Terry, thank you for your service. You were there on the pretty tough time. So
Yes.
so and wish they would have listened to you sooner. So but I am so thankful that you were able to come and share with us today, so that
My pleasure.
so people get a chance to see living history. You've been there, done that. So
Okay.
okay. Well,
My
Terry,
pleasure.
I'll talk to you later. We'll help you with your other part of this thing that we've been discussing too. But thank you for
Okay.
sharing with us tonight.
Okay, Jim. Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye bye
You
now.
have a good one. Bye-bye.